Hi guys. So today, start off with, we're just going to have a look at NZ Grapher. So to go to NZ Grapher, just in Google Chrome, you're going to type grapher.nz, and then it will bring you through to this screen. So you'll get all that up and running. It loads in automatically with a data set already available. And this data set, you can see in the top right-hand corner here, the data source that it's brought in is all about babies. So you've got about the birth weights, the age of the mother, the race of the baby, whether the mother smoked or not. I'm not sure what FTV stands for, but I'm sure we could find out if we wanted to. And birth weight, so the weight in grams of the baby. Okay, so you've got all that stuff coming out there. Now, from the drop down here, you can select different data sets. So if I wanted to look at, say, a rugby data set, I click on that, and then I've got all this information about rugby players. So what position they played, their weights in kilos, the country they played for, and their heights. Okay, so I've got all that stuff coming through, and you can see there are different ones there. Now, as far as we're concerned, really, the ones that we're interested in for multivariate are the top data sets. Any ones that say TS in front of them, not useful to us because they're time series data, and that's something that's not within this standard. So we're just interested in the stuff at the top, really. So what do I want to show you? I want to show you how we can do a sample. So let's say, stick with our rugby data set. And if I want to do a sample, if my question was about, say, I wonder if the heights of South African players tends to be greater than the heights of New Zealand players for all rugby players in this data set. Okay, so wherever this data has come from, we need to know that. But if we were interested in that question, then we're probably going to want to do a sample, and we take a number of players from each country. Okay, there are 135 players there, you can see altogether, and we know about 30 is enough that we're going to need in each sample group. So I'll come to the sample and more menu here. I'll click on that, and I'll say, I would just like to do a sample, please. Okay. Do I want a simple random sample? Well, I do want a random sample, but I want it to be 30 from South Africa and 30 from New Zealand. So I'm going to say by country I want to sample with. And it tells me there are 67 players from New Zealand at the moment. I want 30 of them. And there are 68 from South Africa. I want 30 of them. So then I'm going to do my sample. There we go. Now we're reduced down. If you see me scroll down the list here, you can see there are 60 players altogether. We've got 30 from New Zealand and 30 from South Africa. Okay, so that's done my sampling. That's great. By the way, at any stage, if you want to go back to the original data set, okay, you want to get rid of that, you can always go back to the original data. You've got lots of different options to be able to do that. But on here, yeah, you've got your sample menu. If I just click off that for a minute, if I go data, okay, reset, will bring me back to the original data set. But I'm not going to do that now because I want all these 60. Okay, so I've got the 60 in here. Now the important area for me is this graph type down the bottom. Graph type down the bottom, I want to select, I want a dot plot and a box and whisker plot from that drop down. Okay, you're always going to go for that. You have to have the dot plot, and the box and whisker plot comes with it if we tell it that's what we want. So we click on that. Okay, now it's saying, well, what's the numerical data, numerical 1 down here? What's the numerical data that we want to be comparing? Well, we were talking about heights, weren't we? Are the South African players, they tend to be taller. So we need to put height in there. We want to compare the heights. And then the category 1, optional, this is where we have to put in if we want a box plot, because we want to be comparing across the country. So we want to say by country. Now, if you look at the dot plot on the side there at the moment, it's showing me all those heights for all those 60 players. But if I flip country on there, you'll see what happens. It now splits out New Zealand and South Africa. Okay, so I've got a New Zealand dot plot. I've got a South Africa dot plot. And this little area down here allows me to choose what else I want adding in here. Now, you are always going to choose summaries because this is the stuff that gives you straight off what's the minimum, what's the lower quartile, what's the median, that 5-point data summary in there. And we've got it for New Zealand and we've got it for South Africa. Look, the computer's just done it for you. But we're also going to tick that we want the box plot as well. So the box plot gets put over that too. So we've got a box plot and we've got the dot plot over it. And at this point, we're in a position where we can start to say things. Yeah, we've got a lot of information on there. We can start to say things. So we, for example, I can see that if I'm looking at the center, the South African median is higher than the New Zealand median, okay? And if I look at the median out here, it's 1.885. Okay, it's 1.84 for New Zealand, so I can see what that's happening there. But what I can also see, if I look at the spread across the box, the interquartile range for South Africa is higher. They're more spread out, and I can see that from the range as well. Look at that. There's a couple of, well, three, in fact, players only at 165 in South Africa in my sample. So I've got that coming out down there, and you can see all of that happening, and it's just done for you. And when we come to want to put this into our assessment, all you have to do is right click and go copy image, and then paste it into whatever document you want. It is that easy. You can do things like change the graph title. So we could say here, let's make that a bit more meaningful. Let's change the graph title so it says, I don't know, heights of New Zealand and South Africa rugby players. Okay, so we brought that up. That's nice, and we tab out of there. Now, sometimes it doesn't refresh for us automatically. You might just have to click on another option just to get that to come through. But sometimes it's a little bit slow to refresh, but that's okay. Height, I might want to put in what the measurement was for height. The height was in centimeters, and the country, that's all fine. Yeah, if we need to, just on my screen at the minute, just bear with me because I'm in a different application. I'll just zoom in a little bit. Okay, see what I can see. Can I see the other option that says to refresh? Bear with me because, oh dear, that wasn't working too well, was it? Let's come back to where we were then. So we've got all of that in there. You'll have a little option down here that says to refresh display. I can't actually see it at the moment on my screen because I've got some other things about the video recording software that's showing over in that area, unfortunately. But that's it. That's straightforward. Okay, so if I wanted to do it for a different data set, if I wanted to do it for kiwis, so let's bring in kiwis. So here's loads of different kiwis and what species they are and their weights and their heights and so on. Same thing. I can go for sample, do my sample. Let's say we were just interested in the difference between genders, so males and females. So if I do females, I want 30. Whoops, not 39. I want 30. And I want 30 males. Do my sample. It's brought those across. Choose that we want the dot plot and the box and whisker. Let's say we're comparing their heights. Heights in centimeters, and the category we were splitting by gender, weren't we? So let's just have a look what's going on there. Interesting stuff. We could put our summaries on, we could have box plots on, and we could do something to talk about that. Okay, so really quite nice. And again, you might be able to see something about the shape as well. This one's looking like it's got a little bit of a right skew. It's got a long tail on there. The males is also looking like it's got a right skew. So they're both showing a right skew, long tails out to the right on the box plots. Okay, that's it. That's what you need to be doing. Feel free to dip back into this video if you need to at any point. Yeah, that's all good. So hopefully you're all happy with just getting into NZ Grapher and using it for stuff.